Hey, good morning, everybody. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here at home, keeping an eye on the weather situation, which is kind of interesting. It's unfolding a lot different today than what it looked like yesterday. We knew we were going to have a possibility of a couple isolated storms in the mountains today, but what we had happen overnight, and you can kind of see the overall picture here, is if you look pretty carefully, you can kind of pick out we've got a big area of low pressure coming out of the plains. We've got a really strong cold front, a warm front that extends something like this. But what happened is these little clusters of thunderstorms we sometimes call MCSs or MCCs, depends on your school of thought on these thunderstorm complexes. They're basically just clusters of storms that organize. And oftentimes you see this in the summer. They'll form on the warm front or the top of the ridge, and they'll take a right turn and move around the east side of the ridge. And that's kind of what's happening this morning. We've got a pretty good cluster of storms, which is developed in Kentucky and Tennessee. And this is all actually coming right at the mountains. Now they're weakening. The leading edge is weakening quite a bit right in here. Back in here, though, you're seeing new development. There's an outflow boundary right in here, which will likely cause new development. You see that orange box there? That's what we call a mesoscale discussion. There's a possibility that we could see a watch issued there, about a 40% chance. But what I'm worried about for us is as these storms come out of the mountains, the atmosphere over the Piedmont is pretty warm and moist. It's in the low 70s right now. The dew points are in the low 60s. And I'm going to turn those off real briefly and show you what we call CAPE, or basically you think about this as like thunderstorm fuel. So let me show you the CAPE values around here. And we've got, over 1,000 CAPE. You can see how big the CAPE is back here in the middle of the country. That's where we're going to see some more severe weather. But there's plenty of instability here and moisture to work with that we're going to see some pretty good storms later this afternoon and into the evening hours. In fact, some of the short-range modeling is showing this outflow boundary coming out of these storms. And then once it gets down here, like from Greenville to Charlotte up towards Greensboro this evening, we're going to see a good cluster of storms develop along that line. And because there is some cold air aloft and what we call D-CAPE, which is a form of CAPE that produces downburst type winds, we could see some pretty significant winds with the storms that do develop, especially since there's so much sun out in areas across the Piedmont. So let's go look at the modeling really quickly. And the first model we're going to look at is going to be the NAM4. And let me grab the latest run here so you can see what it looks like. So this is the latest run of the NAM. This was this morning's run. And we're going to go out to 18Z, which is about 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can see how the initial edge or leading edge of the storms in the mountains fall apart. And that's pretty typical. But new storms forming along the outflow boundary, which even though you don't see storms over Charlotte, will probably be right in that vicinity. So as we go later in the afternoon, we're talking 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, all of a sudden you see the atmosphere's kind of recovered a little bit, and we're going to start to see some storms develop in the foothills and in the mountains. And you can see this is by about 8 o'clock this evening, we've got some pretty good storms developing across the Charlotte area. And as we go towards 9, 10, 11 o'clock, they kind of linger there, and you can actually kind of pick out exactly where the outflow boundary is at that time. It's probably roughly in there. So if you get an idea of these, I'll draw the outflow boundary right now, and it'll be moving down here by this evening. And if you go back and look at the data, we'll scroll back. You can see how these things unfold. They move right along that boundary, and then they will kind of weaken overnight as we lose the heating of the day. And because these storms were here this afternoon, it's likely we'll see some new development tomorrow because there'll be tons of little boundaries left all over the place. So I would expect tomorrow afternoon we'll probably see another round of storms develop in the afternoon hours. So just to recap, the storms in the mountains will fall apart briefly, and then we'll see new storms develop along the outflow boundary as we go into the evening hours as my phone goes off. So let's turn off that, turn the radar back on, give you a quick look at where these storms are going. There they are right now. We'll do a quick little loop so you get an idea. It'll take a second for the loop to load, but you can see how the outflow boundary is developing this morning. So going to have to change the forecast a little bit. I had a 20% chance for the western parts of our area. I'm going to increase that to 40% this afternoon and 50 to 60% this evening, because I really think around Charlotte this is going to be more of an evening storm threat. So that's a quick update to the forecast, and just a look ahead to later in the week. Big severe weather outbreaks going to take place this afternoon across Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and the Missouri. That cold front arrives Friday, and it will likely bring another round of severe storms Friday afternoon into the evening. So an active week. We're in April. It's well behind schedule for severe weather. So it looks like we're going to catch up on some lost time here in the next week. So just be weather aware today. I think the storms will be pulse type, but on Friday, whole separate situation. I'll issue more information about that over the next 24 to 36 hours. Hope you have a great Wednesday. And of course, you can always follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, WCNC.com, and on air at NBC Charlotte. I am actually at the station today, but I won't be working on air. So in case things break, I'm right there. I'll jump in front of the camera and I'll keep things up to date online.